talk about the immune systems. In immune system, students, first of all, you should know what is an immunogen, what is an antigen. Anything that is foreign to your body, that doesn't belong to your body, is called as an antigen, like a dust particle is also an antigen. And immunogen is something that can react with antibodies to induce an immune response. So when an antigen goes in your body reacts by producing antibodies to it. Most are proteins, the antigens, but many are polysaccharide, lipoprotein and nucleoprotein. Now what's a hapten? Hapten is an incomplete antigen that cannot elicit an antibody response on its own. It must be bound to carrier protein. For example, penicillin is a hapten. Patients who are allergic to penicillin, they have the carrier protein. So it will become a complete antigen when it interacts with carrier molecule, and then when it is immunogenic, it can produce antibodies and antigenic reaction. Super antigen that activate a large number of T helper cell, like toxic shock syndrome toxin is a kind of a super antigen that we have. Now the first line of defense in your body is through skin and mucous membrane, like the immunity. So immunity, student, is divided into the natural immunity and the artificial immunity. Natural immunity is divided into active passive, and artificial immunity is divided into active passive as well. So natural active immunity is the immunity that you are having inherently, like the active. For example, if you say my friend has better immunity than me because he has more active neutrophils, he has more active complement system, the lymphocytes. So overall, the immune system, it's more active in young people as compared to older people. That's natural active immunity. Natural passive immunity is what the baby is getting from the mother through the breast milk, IgA antibody or IgG antibody through the placental blood. The artificial immunity that you're getting through the way of vaccine, which can be artificial active immunity or artificial passive. Artificial active immunity when you're getting a component of bacteria or a virus in the form of vaccine. You are treating with chemical heat so that it is not antigenic anymore. It does not produce disease in you, but it's still immunogenic. It still produces antibodies. The artificial active immunity will take 3-4 weeks for it to act because it will take time for your body to produce antibodies. But when we talk about artificial passive immunity, we're getting direct antibody serum that will act immediately but will be shorter acting. So if you look at this here, so your functional innate natural immunity that you have, it functions immediately after microbial infiltration. There is a non-specific targeting of antigen. If you have good natural immunity, it will be active against all the bacteria and viruses. No memory. Do not arise from previous infection or vaccination. Natural killer cell, neutrophils, macrophages, complement system, they're all involved in natural immunity or innate immunity. While the adaptive immunity, like in the form of vaccine, functional days after microbial infiltration, especially if it's an active vaccine. Specific targeting of antigens like vaccine against COVID, specific targeting, exhibit diversity, respond to unique antigens, memory it has that improves on multiple exposure to microorganisms. Now we have two types of acquired immunity, the one which is cell mediated like T cell mediated or antibody immunity which is mediated by B cells. So now students, there are two types of acquired immunity, adaptive immunity we have. The one which is antibody mediated immunity mediated by B cell and the cell mediated immunity mediated by T cells. There are two cells here you can see, B cells and T cells. Both B cells and T cells, they are formed in the bone marrow. But B cells, they stay within the bone marrow and mature there, while T cells, they migrate to the thymus and mature there. That's why they're called as the T cells. So B cells, we have different type of B cells, like we have memory B cells, we have plasma B cell. Plasma B cell, they help in production of antibodies. While for T cells, mainly two types of T cells. We have CD4 helper T cell and CD8 cytotoxic killer T cells. So you can see here, B cells are capable of secreting the antibodies. They are called as antibody presenting cells. B cells secrete antibodies known as plasma cells. While there are two types of T cells, the cytotoxic killer T cells like CD8 that are involved in graft rejection, or CD4 helper T cells which are responsible for action of macrophages and the B cells. Now we have another type of immune cells that are called as natural killer cells. Natural killer cells, they kill various infected cells, the tumor cells, monocytes and macrophages. As we know, they're involved in phagocytosis, antigen presentation, and different type of cytokines are produced in monocyte macrophages like interleukin 1, 6, 8, INF and TNF. Basophils and mast cells. So mast cell, basophil, we know they're involved in type 1 immediate hypersensitivity or the allergic reaction, while eosinophils are mainly increased in the parasitic infections. You can see neutrophilia in the bacterial infection, lymphocytosis, monocytosis mainly happen in viral infections, or chronic inflammatory conditions can also have increased lymphocytes. Eosinophils are increased in parasitic infection and basophils are increased in allergic reaction or type 1 immediate hypersensitivity. Let us say what is opsonization. Opsonization, student, before the neutrophil can phagocytose or engulf or eat up the microbe, it is going to coat the body of the bacteria by using IgG antibody and complement protein. It's easy to phagocytose, and that is called as a opsonization. We see different phases of phagocytosis here. First of all, there will be chemotaxis, right? Neutrophil will be attracted towards the chemicals from the damaged tissue like C5a, C3b, IL-8. They are all chemotactic factors. Then you will see that the pathogen will attach to the plasma membrane of the phagocyte cell, like a neutrophil macrophage is a phagocyte cell, and then the phagocyte cell is going to ingest it and it will become phagosome. Phagosome is a body which has the bacteria in it, and this phagosome will bind to lysosome, become phagolysosome. And once it is inside the lysosome, the bacteria, the lysosome is going to produce hydrolytic enzymes, and that are going to kill the bacteria. Okay, so now let us talk about different types of antibodies we have. So we have 5 important antibodies: IgG, IgA, M, E, and D. IgG is the most abundant one we have, and you can see IgG is the one that enhances the phagocytosis, crosses the placenta. It's an antibody of secondary response, while IgM is considered to be the antibody of the primary response. IgA antibody is found in body fluids like saliva, tears, and IgA antibody also prevents the absorption of antigen on the mucosa like respiratory mucosa, GI mucosa. IgM, so the pentavaric form of IgM is the largest antibody we have. As I told you, the first antibody of primary response. While IgD has unknown function, IgE, we know this is found in mast cells and basophil, and it's involved in immediate allergic reaction or type 1 immediate hypersensitivity. Let's talk about graft rejection. So the different type of graft rejection we have, like hyperacute rejection, when the rejection almost happens immediately because patient is already sensitized from the previous rejection, or it can be acute rejection usually within 6 months, or it can be chronic injection. Slowly the rejection of the graft is happening. The most important cells that are involved in graft rejection are CD8 cytotoxic killer T cells. Now, what is graft versus host reaction? So let's say the cancer patient, when they are receiving the bone marrow transplant, sometimes it can be very risky for the patient. What is the reason? Because they are immunocompromised. And when they are getting a graft from a healthy individual, giving them graft, the healthy immunocompetent cells of the donor can attack the immunocompromised weak cell of the recipient. And that is called as graft versus host reaction. Hypersensitivity reaction, students, we don't have to go into much detail of them, but however, you should know that there are 4 types of hypersensitivity reaction: type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. Type 1, most important, like anaphylactic reaction, IgE-mediated immediate hypersensitivity reaction. Atopic reaction, asthmas, allergies, they are mainly type 1 immediate hypersensitivity. The type 2 is considered to be IgG-mediated cytotoxic hypersensitivity, like when there is a blood cell breakdown, hemolytic anemia, erythroblastosis fetalis, they are mainly the type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. Now, type 3 hypersensitivity reaction is immune complex mediated hypersensitivity reaction. So, the autoimmune conditions, they come under type 3 hypersensitivity, like your Arthus reaction, serum sickness, rheumatoid, lupus. Type 4 is the delayed hypersensitivity reaction. This is called as cell-mediated hypersensitivity, like your contact dermatitis or tuberculoid reaction or graft rejection. They are all delayed hypersensitivity type 4 mediated by macrophages. One lab test which are involving the antigen-antibody reaction. So number 1, we have a immunofluorescent testing methods, where you are adding the fluorescent conjugated antibody which is specific for the target antigen in the patient's tissue or the cell fixed into it, and then you see the fluorescence under the microscope with the conjugated antibodies bind to target antigen. Now, immunofluorescent testing is mainly done for autoimmune disorder of the skin like pemphigus, pemphigoid, lichen planus. We can do immunofluorescent testing. ELISA testing, as we know, it's a screening test for HIV, where you have virus sample on the surface, then antibody with the enzyme conjugate attached to the viral antigen, and then substrate and enzyme interaction will create a specific color change for the detection. Now, when we talk about the blood typing, we know we have 4 blood groups: AB, A, B, and the O blood group. So, whenever you have any blood group, let's say we have blood group A, so it will have antigen A but antibody B in the plasma, because we don't want the blood to coagulate if it has the same antibody. Now, if we talk about, let's say, blood group O will be a universal donor. Why? Because it does not have any antigen, but it has both the antibodies. AB will be universal recipient because it will have both antigen A and antigen B, but it will not have any antibody in the plasma. So immunodeficiency disorders, we have the important one, students, that is asked in the exam is definitely the selective IgA deficiency, where IgA antibody is missing. So we know IgA antibody, it prevents the attachment of bacteria to the mucosal surface. This very common IgA deficiency disorder is. So these patients have more recurrent sinopulmonary infection, GI disorders. Another one that we should know is DJAWS syndrome, very important. The disorder we have, student, is DJAWS syndrome that is characterized by dysmorphic face, hypocalcemia, thymic aplasia. So T cell deficiency is being found here. More susceptible to graft versus host disease, depressed T cell immunity, congenital heart diseases are being seen here, very susceptible to infection. And the important one we have is SCID disease, that is severe combined immunodeficiency disorder, in which both the B cells and T cells are deficient. So the child will failure to thrive. Usually the child will die within 2 years of life, and they are both bacterial and viral infections the patient is going to get. Another condition is viscous Elders syndrome, that's characterized by eczema, thrombocytopenia, and the bacterial infection. And one is ataxia telangiectasia, where you have abnormally dilated blood vessels and uncoordinated body gait. These patients with ataxia telangiectasia, they have more predisposition towards having the skin disorders, cancers, skin malignancies.